Take the land. All the land that you want. Take it. Take Gaza, take the West Bank. Incorporate all of that into Israel.
Look, normalization is the beginning of the end of Zionism. There's no two ways about it. The umbilical cord between Tel Aviv and Washington is going to get cut, and Israel is going to have to integrate properly into the region, into the Arab region, into the Muslim world, into the Middle East, if they want to survive in any way whatsoever. And they know it, and the Gulf leaders know it. The anti-normalization people, in my opinion, just haven't thought through their position to its logical conclusion. Isolation of Israel by the Arab and the Muslim world has not had any significant impact in 80 years, except to make Israel independent of the region economically and in every other way. Look, I support BDS, but normalization, in my opinion, is the other side of the BDS coin. Everyone has to acknowledge that Israel has not been a healthy, normal society, a healthy, normal country from the beginning until now. If Saudi Arabia is intent on normalization, then it's predictable, as I've said before, that this will lead to a cascading series of other Arab and Muslim states also normalizing. Now, in this regard, I think that certain precautions and mechanisms should probably be in place to ensure that normalization serves a strategic purpose, the strategic purposes that I've talked about before. Because let's be honest, what's actually being normalized is Israel itself, not relations with Israel. Israel is being normalized, and it has to be normalized because Israel is not normal. And who says that if the Muslim world normalizes with Israel, that they can't then at a later date rescind that normalization once they have actually grown some kind of economic clout inside Israel, some kind of influence in their economy? So yes, I think that BDS in the West is strategically logical, but it becomes more logical with normalization. I think normalization is strategically logical, and someone like Mohammed bin Salman, I think that he doesn't like for there to be any dominant player in the Middle East besides him. Not Iran and not Israel. He wants to have dominion over the region, and boycott, divestment, and sanctions without normalization ensures that the United States and that the West will remain the dominant player in the Middle East. Everyone likes to say that these leaders in the Gulf, in the Arab countries, that they're puppets of the West, puppets of the United States. But again, because of the type of work that I do, I'm thoroughly familiar with the kind of influence that these countries have in the West. It's an outdated, obsolete way of thinking to say that they're anyone's puppets. They are tactfully and strategically navigating the power dynamics in their region, and they're doing it masterfully. Every one of them cares about Islam as much as any other Muslim does. And just like any other Muslim, they fall short sometimes. And that's no reason to hate someone. That's no reason to hate them. That's no reason to hate their system. That's no reason to hate their governments. Both the UAE and Saudi Arabia, and Qatar as well, have governed their states remarkably well. The leaders of those countries are some of the brightest, most strategic and visionary leaders in the world today. Thousands of people every year get pardoned from prison in the UAE and in the Arab world, throughout the Muslim world. Their debts get paid off. Yes, there are system failures, but many times the system works. I mean, I'm here today because the system ultimately worked in my case. I'm here today because the system ultimately worked in my case. They are even integrating Israel into their sphere of influence. And that is the most historic and monumental strategic victory that you can imagine. In the event of any Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people, then these states would respond collectively by potentially suspending normalization activities with Israel. Then these states would respond collectively by potentially suspending normalization activities with Israel.
The actual solution to the problem is quite clear. If you add up the number of Palestinians in Gaza and add it to the number of Palestinians in the West Bank and add that to the number of Palestinians within what is now Israel, who are Israeli citizens, if you add all of them together and then you calculate it with the current birth rates among Palestinians, maximum 10 years, Palestinians are going to be the majority. To say to the Israelis, take the land, all the land that you want, take it. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, incorporate all of that into Israel. We have only one condition, which is that you give full citizenship rights to all of the current inhabitants, to all of the current residents and inhabitants of those lands. And if you even went even further than that and said, take all of the land that you want to call what the Zionist project is, the Greater Israel, Eretz Israel. Take all of that land, including Sinai, including Jordan, including Lebanon. Take all of it, and then, even if it would be called Israel, what was historical Palestine will return to the status that it had prior to the creation of Israel, which is an Arab land, an Arab territory with a Jewish minority. If the lands are integrated and the Palestinian inhabitants of those lands are integrated and given full citizenship rights, well, Israel has a democratic system. It can't stop talking about it being the only democracy in the Middle East. It has a democratic system. So then you have a majority of Palestinian voters who would then vote in their members of parliament or members of the Knesset or whatever, and the Jewish state would be finished. It can't stop talking about it being the only democracy in the Middle East. It has a democratic system. Who would then vote in their members of parliament or members of the Knesset or whatever. And the problem is solved. No more war, no more conflict, no more blockade of Gaza, no more airstrikes. The only way that we can lose this fight is by continuing to make it a fight. We're supposed to be realistic people. No more fighting. Fine, you win. No more fighting, you win. Take the land, just let us be citizens. That's all we ask. And we would have to understand that it is not a surrender by any stretch of the imagination. It's an absolute victory. But the Islamists want to present it as this endless conflict that there's no way to resolve it except to fight and jihad and so on and so on. Like any of the previous intifadas have achieved anything even resembling better situation for the Palestinians. No more fighting. Fine, you win. No more fighting, you win. Take the land, just let us be citizens. That's all we ask.